Bookworm family, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danny. If you're new, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell because this year I am posting a video once a week. I still gotta come up with a better catchphrase for that one, but you guys know what I mean. Also, if you are not yet following me on Instagram, please be sure to do that. I will link it down below in the description box. But so far, so good with my New Year's resolution of posting a video once a week in 2020. We are now on week 2, and I have a video for you. Isn't that thrilling? So, you guys know I ended the year 2019 with a wrap-up of my old book journal that I did last year that was filled with all the books. So I just want to give you guys a tour of what my 2020 book journal will look like and how I am choosing to journal this year so that maybe you guys can be inspired, come up with some prompts for you guys. And if I got any of these prompts from somebody else, I will do my best to remember to thank them. Sometimes I forget to do that and you guys tell me, and I'm so sorry that I do that. So please tell me if I forget to give someone credit for an idea that they did for a prompt. But yeah, this is kind of my take on bullet journaling. I don't like doing a lot of like self-help, and I don't like doing a lot of like, well, I do like doing self-help, but I don't like writing it down. I do it internally. But I don't like writing it down, and I don't really like having like schedules for myself and stuff like that because my life is ever-changing. It's an ever-changing cycle. So what I do to kind of keep myself in a focused, scheduled kind of manner that kind of helps ease my anxiety is I journal my books, and I kind of make it a little keepsake that I can hang on to for years and years and years for when somebody's like, hey, I'm looking for a really good book in this genre. I can flip through them and be like, oh, here we go. And I also do like little fun games with myself and stuff, and it's just a way for me to kind of embrace the books that I'm reading, but also give myself a little mental break because I am not a master artist, and if I listen to music, I start choreographing because that's my job. So this is just a way that I mentally relax after reading some good books. So let me show you guys how I am doing that this year. Again, I'm sorry for the vlog style video. I promise these are going to go back to normal soon. It's just crazy with the realtor right now. So this is the easiest way for me to film. But yeah, so here we go, 2020! Woo, woo! Okay, again, I'm on my bed recording this, so my hand's probably going to shake a lot, especially because I'm really not feeling great tonight. But here's the outside of my 2020 binder. It's just got these like little decorative stickers and then strive for progress, not perfection. And then the side has 2020 and then like these arrow stickers. Unfortunately, these stickers were not as great as the old ones that I was using, or maybe the binder doesn't like accept sticky stuff. So I actually had to tape these down so they got a little bit of a 3D vibe to them right now. I might end up changing stickers by the end of the year. We'll see how annoying that gets to me. So then we open it up and we start right away with Reading Journal 2020, and my goal this year is to read 100 books. And then it'll be my table of contents after that. Obviously this isn't finished right now. And so for each of the cover pages this year, I did like more of a fantastical looking, so like with like the stars, and everything's a little bit different. So this one I did like the swirly font and a year of reading with the pencil. Yeah, so kind of a more fantastical look to this reading journal this year. So then I have my TBR. This is the books from 2019 shelf that I want to read in 2020. It's a little bit smaller than last year's because last year's I definitely did not get through. So the other problem with this is that my books are in storage. So if you guys don't know, I am moving or in the process of moving. I'm going to hold this right here so you guys can like read these so I don't have to read them out loud afterwards while I'm talking. But basically I'm in the process of moving. So a lot of these books are in storage right now and I don't have them on me. So that kind of sucks a little bit. So hopefully when we move, I can get all these books back out. If not, I'm going to have to like borrow them or whatever from the library, but it does kind of suck because I already have them. So I would like to be able to read the books that I already have. So we'll see when we move and like the process of all that and kind of the progress of that. It's not something that I'm super worried about right now, but definitely want to get through a lot of these books these years. Or this year, not these years. So then we have books read in 2020, and this is where I'll draw the covers of each book. And then when I get to book number 100, it is highlighted because that's my goal for this year. And then I left a couple after just in case I read more than 100, which I doubt will happen, but will give me the benefit of the doubt there. And then this is where I'll keep track of the authors that I read. And here are my library cards. I've already borrowed books in the new year, but if you guys know from my last video, I keep track of books that I've lent out on this card and books that I've borrowed on this card. And then something new this year, I did books I want to buy or borrow. So basically, this is pretty much what's like on my I want to read list on Goodreads that I don't already own. So I already have some filled in, but I did buy or borrow because I am trying to not buy as many books this year because I can't really have any books right now until we move. Pretty much what's on my shelf is what I can get. But also I'm trying to save money to go to Disney World and Universal, or like the Harry Potter world in Universal. So trying to save money for that. And so I kept it at buy and borrow, but this is new from last year. Just wanted a place to keep tracks where like I could take a picture of it before I go on like a big Barnes & Noble trip or something. And I left a couple pages for that because who knows how many books I'm going to actually want to buy. It's probably going to be all of these. Probably the truth. So then we get to January. So for each month I have the book with books read with that swirly pretty font again, and then each month is representing, or like each design is representing that month. So like I have like the coffee mug and then like the swirly snowflakes and stuff for January. This is what basically each page is gonna look like, obviously based on the book. So it'll have the title, the author, if it's a part of a series and what number in the series it is, if it was new or a reread, date started, date finished. There'll be a picture that represents the book that I'll draw, a one sentence summary of the book, the genre, the publication year, page numbers, and if it was an audiobook, I'll put like how much time it took to listen to the audiobook, the setting, and if there's a movie version or not, and then the rating out of 5 stars, why I chose this book, awards this book has won, where I'll track like all the awards it's won based off of what Goodreads says. And then made me, and then this is where I draw my like little emoji guy of like how I felt throughout the book, favorite character, the song that fits the book, and my favorite part or quote of each book. And so something new that I'm going to do this year is every month I'm going to have its own individual wrap up. I think this is important because honestly, like I get to the end of the year and I'm like, wait, what did I read in January? So this is just to help me keep track better. So I have the little design that's based on the month. So January has like the snowflakes, books read, pages per book, and then kind of like I'll just like do a check mark next to each one of like the sections. The minimum pages read, the maximum pages read that month, and then the genres: Christian, realistic, romance, mystery, sci-fi, fantasy, nonfiction, memoir, poetry, or other. And I'll put a little check mark next to each one for how many I read of those. Overall emotion, I'll draw like the general, like how I felt that month reading. And then also keeping track this year of reading levels. So how many children's I read, how many middle grade I read, how many young adult I read, how many new adult I read, and how many adult I read. So then February, we went with the Valentine's Day theme. And again, just keeping like the same colors on the cover page as I do the wrap up. We have March with the St. Patrick's Day theme. I'm sorry, my hand's shaking a lot. I'm trying to study it, but it's just not, I'm just not feeling good, guys. And then we have April with like a rainy day theme with the umbrella. And we have May, you know, April showers bring May flowers. I went with the flowers and the rainbow. June, I did like an oceany theme. And then we get to the mid-year point, so I just have like the magical design on the mid-year point. And this year I'm doing something a little different. I'm going to have my mid-year statistics to help me kind of keep going with my goal. So I have mid-year stats, number of books read by the mid-year point, which will be the last month of June will be my mid-year point. Number of pages read. I am blank % into my reading goal, so that'll be like what Goodreads says, like if I've read like 50% of my reading goal or whatever. And I need to average blank books a month to complete this year's goal. So this will be like how many books a month I need to read July through December to reach my goal of 100 books. And then I have my top 5 books of the year. So I have top book, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. I was going to write top books of the year up here, but I didn't. So let me know if you think if it needs it or if it does not, or if I should just put an S there. We'll see. We'll see. And then also this year I'm keeping track of author statistics to see what kind of authors I'm reading and how diverse my authors are. So this is the mid-year author statistics of just January through June. Male, female, co-authors, and binary, I'll put checks, or non-binary, I'll put checks next to for those authors, and then I will eventually make a pie chart for how many I read of each of those. And then I'm representing USA, UK, Canada, Australia, Mexico, Japan, China, and other, and this is the ethnicity of the author. So if they're from America, if they're from the UK, if they're from Canada, blah, 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 blah. And then also a list of local authors near me that I'm reading, because the goal is to read more local authors as well. And then just like last year, I have the ultimate book race. I will turn that this way, but instead of doing best books of last year and best books of this year, I'm just doing best of 2020 so far, because obviously last year I read the entire Harry Potter series, and that will probably forever win, so I just feel like it's not worth mentioning a billion times that I love Harry Potter, so we're just going to do the top 5 books of this year, and hopefully I will have read 16 books to have top books of. And then the biannual book superlatives, again, I don't think it's called biannual, but I'm just sticking with it, man. But I did add some this year, so I'll have, this is just January through June. Sorry, my hand is shaking a lot. Try to study. Okay, January through June. But basically all my 5-star books will be listed here. Then I'll have top book, worst book, best character, best setting, most diverse, longest book, shortest book, funniest book, saddest book, song that best fits the book, best quote, best poetry, best YA, best Christian, best romance, best adult, best mystery, best nonfiction, best sci-fi fantasy, best historical, best author, best book box, best couple, best cover art, most accurate movie, least accurate movie, and characters most like me will be the awards this year. And this will be what I do mid-year when I get to the end of June. Then we get into July with a little fireworks theme. August has like a sunny day theme to it. September, the apple, the back to school theme. You guys know the drill for, I think like the last 4 months always have the most like common theme, I think. October, we've got Halloween. November, we've got a turkey. Isn't it a little cross-eyed turkey? I love this turkey. I was going to redraw him, and then I was like, oh my gosh, he's so cute. I have to keep him. And then the last month, we'll have December, which has got like the little Christmas theme to it. And then we get to closing. So I added a lot of stuff in here this year. So I'll have the same movie tracker that I had last year with the popcorn kernels. I have some more space for more popcorn kernels, and I put way more popcorn kernels this year. Or not kernels, I guess it's just popcorn. Kernels are like the thing that the popcorn pops out of. But way more than I did last year, and I also have space for more if I need it, just because I plan on reading so many more books this year that I want to make sure I have enough space for all the movies that I will be watching along with these books. The best of the soundtrack songs I changed up from last year. It's not iPods anymore. It's like an old classic boombox. And then I did the lists more like this so I could have more lists this year. So I have love songs, inspirational songs, self-care songs, faith-building songs, joyful songs, sad songs, angry songs, fantastical songs, instrumental songs, and kids songs. And this will be the best of the year. So I will be tracking this throughout the year as I go. Then we get to my poorly drawn country. You guys know I am not an artist, but I do my best to kind of draw out the country, or not the country, oh my gosh, the world, the countries, the many countries, the continents. But I will track where, and I did make Europe larger this year, so hopefully that'll work better. And I'm pretty sure this was part of North America still. Like this whole thing I think is North America. I didn't really draw a Canada line. I guess I should have drawn a Canada line because, you know, like Canada's not a part of the USA. But yeah, so Europe is still kind of tiny. I mean, Europe is tiny, but I was trying to make it a little bit bigger this year since I do read a lot of books that are written or like take place in like a European country. So hopefully I can squeeze them all in again this year. But maybe I'll branch out, and I really want to find a book that takes place in Antarctica. So if anybody knows of a book that takes place in Antarctica, please tell me. I would really like to read one this year. I'm not going to turn this yet because I know that the next one is the USA map. Again, not an artist. I try my best, guys, but I did try to make it a little bit bigger this year so you could actually see, like, you can see New Jersey this year and Rhode Island this year. Yep. All right, so then what decades did books take me to in 2020? I made this a little different this year. I have BC marked on there, before 1800, or sorry, before the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s. Then it goes through the 1800s, so 1800 to 1850, and then 1851 to 1899, and then it'll go through the 1900s, and then I kind of spread out up here. I go like all the way up to 2015, then I track separately 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, then I track the future years. This time I did a bone for BC, a little classic car for like the late 1800s, early 1900s, baseball bat for like the 20s to 40s era, a record for that 50s to 70 era, Rubik's Cube for that 80s to 90s, laptop for early 2000s to like beginning teens of the 2000s, an iPhone or an iPad, whatever you want to call that, for the current years we are living, and then a UFO for the future. Then I have books that took me to a new realm, books that took me to space, and books that took me to a different dimension. Not sold on this page. I might change it up, but we'll see what books I even read this year, if this even applies. But I kind of am interested in this year. I don't know. I gotta kind of play around with it more, I guess. I don't really know if I'm sold on this page. I might make a different page for this. And then we'll do our series and collections like I did last year, so I'll just list out, just keep listing them. Probably not going to do anything fancy for that. And each series or collection has like its own little symbol that I'll put over there that goes on the page, so like I know it's part of a series as I'm going through the months. And then we have A through Z books. This is actually a goal this year. I really do want to read a book that starts with every letter of the alphabet, but the problem is A and the, like, so like The Ugly Duckling would count as a T. Like, I'm no hold, man. So The Ugly Duckling would start with a T. I can't count it for you. It's got to be something that starts with a U. Like, the first letter in the title is a U for it to count. So then we have my reading challenges. So, sorry, I just got to straighten out my leg. Okay, so I'm just going to go through these fast. Book that takes place in the winter, book set in the BC times, book of short stories, book given as a gift, book about friendship, graphic novel, book that takes place in space, book written by a comedian, book published in the year I was born, book recommended by a stranger, book written by someone under 25, book recommended by a kid, book recommended by someone at work, book picked solely on the cover, book featuring travel, poetry book. Moving on. Book found at a thrift store, book by multiple authors, book with no picture on the cover, nonfiction book, book with a bad reputation, book with colors in the title, book written by someone local, book written by an author using a pen name, book outside the comfort zone, retelling of a classic story, a new release, book with pictures, a movie to book with one-word title, reread a favorite book, and book told from multiple points of view. Then we get into a book bingo, which we have a ghost story based on a true story, features a wedding, book from Goodreads TBR, heard about on YouTube, debut novel, a book about a game or a puzzle, a book over 100 years old, award-winning book, own but haven't read, middle grade book, banned book, free space, purple cover, book about an obscure holiday, so like Columbus Day or like Martin Luther King Day or something like that, like something that's not like your everyday holiday, like your like most known holidays is what I'm trying to say, like Christmas or Easter or something like that. Book about magic based on a different culture, written or full story written in poetry format, audio book I wasn't allowed to read as a kid, book with no chapters, a main character older than me, takes place in a jungle or a forest, part of a series, or a main character has a child. And basically how I do this is like if I get all of these filled in, then I put the date that the last one got filled in down there. If I have like all these filled in, I put the date that I had them all filled in down there. So then we get into my Harry Potter games. So we start off with the sorting game, and I really love how I made the sorting, or like the house banners this year. But basically what happens is I just take the main character from each book and I sort them into their Hogwarts house as I feel fit. So this is my little lion for Gryffindor, my little Slytherin-y snake, my Ravenclaw raven, and my Hufflepuff. Then I have my Hogwarts House Points Reading Habit Tracker. So for Gryffindor, I can get 1 line filled in. So here are the lines, so like I would color in those lines. I could have 1 line filled in if I read a book with a red cover, 2 lines if I read a book over 400 pages, and 3 lines if I read a book with a talking animal. For Ravenclaw, I can get 1 line if I read a setting abroad, 2 lines if I read a graphic novel, 3 lines if I read a book with a copyright before the 70s. For Slytherin, I can get 1 line if I read a book under 100 pages, 2 lines if I read a book with an anti-hero, or 3 lines if I could read a book with a snake. Hufflepuff, I have 1 line if I read a book about a dog, 2 lines if I read a book with the copyright of 2020, and 3 lines if I read a book recommended by a friend. And then we get into my Hogwarts exams, so I will just hold this here for a second so you guys can kind of see the rules, but basically I will show you the next couple pages, but I am trying to pass all my Hogwarts classes and get the jobs. This is just for fun, guys. I like legitimately like have way too much free time on my hand is what I learned from making this. Not really, actually it took me forever to make this. I have been working on this binder since October, so but basically in order to pass I have to read a book that's 100 pages or more, and I obviously want to read books that are like 401 plus pages because that gives me an outstanding, but anything under 90, like 99 pages or under, I don't pass. So like I can read books like that, but it just wouldn't give me a passing grade. So for my owl exams, to pass astronomy, I need to read a book with a night sky on the cover, charms, book with magic in it, defense against dark arts, book with stereotypical character, flying, a book that takes place in another country, book herbology, a book with a plant on the cover, history and magic, a book set before the 1950s, potions, a book with food or drink on the cover, transfiguration, book with science fictional lead character, arithmancy, book in a series, care of magical creatures, book with an animal point of view, Muggle studies, a book based on a true story, divination, book set in the future, and study of ancient runes, a book in a non-traditional format. And I basically, like, once I read a book that makes that requirement, I list it next to the class that it met the requirement for, and then I put the grade. And when all of these have their requirements met, I can move on to the newts, which have harder challenges. But basically, instead of like passing the class, once you pass your newts, you can get your wizarding employment. So I will read you these really quick. But astronomy is a book with a star on a cover. Charms, main character has powers. Defense against dark arts. Antagonist has magical powers. Flying, a book features a vacation or a trip. Herbology, character has a flowery name. History of magic, book has a book about a historical event. Potions, main character is biracial or bisexual. Transfiguration, main character goes through an extreme change. Arithmancy, book with a number in the title. Care of magical creatures, book features a fantastical creature. Divination, book with a cloud on the cover. Muggle studies or Muggle theory. This also includes like their electives at Hogwarts. So like some of them, like there's more classes because you don't take your electives in your first few years, you take it in your last years. So that would be a biography, memoir, or a book about a historical person. Study of ancient runes, book features a different language. Alchemy, book with one of the 4 elements. Ancient studies, book featuring a castle. Apparition, book with time travel. Art and music, a book featuring any art. And ghoul studies, a book featuring a monster, zombie, beast, etc. So then I'm trying to get the jobs. So basically what I'll do is if I read a book that covers the arts and music category, so if I read a book that's featuring any art, I can list it here, and then and if it had over 400 pages, so that's where the trickery is, because like you have to get the proper grade to get the job. So like if I read a book that only had like 100 pages, I couldn't count it here. If it was under arts and music, I'd have to find somewhere else to put it in. So if that makes sense, and then I list the grades, and once I get all 3, I can say that I got employed, and then I can kind of make up a job for myself. It's just for fun, guys. I kind of based it off of the Owls and Newts reading challenge. I think it's Cherry Wallace does it.
I think. But I kind of based it off of that because I never have time to do it when she does it because it's always in the middle of like a big work thing for me. So I kind of just make my own and do it throughout the year. But I could get a job in the arts as an alchemist, as an aura, as a breeder, as a broom or wand maker, as a curse breaker, a dragonologist / monster hunter, dueler, Gringotts worker, healer or mediwitch, herbologist, headmistress or professor, magizoologist, potioneer, Quidditch player, spell inventor, translator, or an unspeakable. So unspeakable, I couldn't really figure out what they would have to pass, so I just did like the basic important stuff. So then we get into my 2020 stats and data, and I start off with my bookshelf database. This year I'm doing it a little different, and if I read it before 2020, I'm going to have it checked in green, but if I read it during 2020, I'm going to have it checked in pink. And so far right now on my bookshelf, I'm also including this year Kindle books and audiobooks that I have bought or been gifted. So currently I have 176 books, but like I said in the beginning of the video, a lot of that is in storage right now. And I have lots of pages for more. Then at the end of the year, I'll go through and do my bookshelf database results where I'll do my percentage of how much I read, how much I didn't read. So basically how much money I wasted on books that I didn't read this year is pretty much what I look at this page as. And then this year I'm going to do my top 10 books of 2020. So I'll just like draw like little mini covers here of the top 10 books that I liked the best. And then this is the same from last year, my monthly book of emotions where I'll do like the pixel chart. But this year I also added hopeful or faithful because that's an emotion that I want to be feeling right now is hopeful. So hopefully reading books that make me feel that way will get me inspired to like be more hopeful and faithful throughout the year. Then we have my genre race. So Christian realistic romance, mystery, sci-fi fantasy, nonfic memoir, and poetry, and other. And it's kind of just a race to see how much I read and who makes it to the finish line first kind of thing. Oh, I'm going to leave this way for right now. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm going to go this way. Okay, so then I have my reading level chart. So like I said, this year I want to kind of track like what I'm reading. So I have children's, middle grade, young adult, new adult, and adult. And then I'll put check marks next to them as I read them and do the pie chart at the end of the year. And same for here. I will put check marks next to them and then do the pie chart at the end of the year. This is the amount of time each book took me to read. Then I have monthly books read, so as I read books throughout the month, I will track them on my little, whatever kind of chart this is, you know, dot graph, whatever it's called, bar graph. No, that's not a bar graph. It's like a dot. I don't know what it's called. My best friend's going to watch that and tell me exactly what it's called because she's a math person. So then I have my little bar graph, which is the star ratings graph. So like 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star, and just list as I go kind of thing of what they were. And then pages read, I will track throughout the month and then put the total at the end of the year. Then I have my author stats for this one, which is same as the mid-year author stats, but this will be all of 2020 and not just the second half of the year. It'll be like all together. Then I'll have my book race, my best of 2020 book race for all year. Then I will have my 2020 superlatives for July through December, which will bring me like the nominations for my overall book awards. And then kind of going through the book awards, it's top book, worst book, best character, best setting, most diverse, longest book, saddest book, funniest book, song that best fits the book, shortest book, best book box, best quote, best poetry, best YA, children's, romance, adult, mystery, nonfiction, sci-fi, fantasy, historical, author, cover art, couple, accurate to movie, least accurate to movie, character I most relate to, most unique format, most boring book, most disappointing book, month I read the most book, month I read the least books. And then here I will list all the like best quotes that the books had of the year. So like as I read, I'll pick out some quotes and put this on that page so that it all like comes together. If you guys watch my last video, you know what it looks like at the end. And then it just says the end, bad 2020 kind of thing. So yeah, that's my journal for 2020. I hope you guys can get some inspiration from that.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you got some ideas for your reading journal. And if you did, please send me pictures, videos, give me credit where credit's due. I mean, please. But also, like, I want to see what you guys come up with. So if you guys have another way that you do your book journaling or something, please let me see it and please let me know. And I hope you guys are all having a great start to your new year.